In this video, we're going to be delving into an app known as Obsidian, an amazing note-taking tool that allows us to connect and link our notes together, giving us the ability to easily move through them and find all the relevant information we need. We're going to be going through the basics as if we're total beginners, so let's get started. So the first thing we'll want to do is click on the Get Obsidian for Windows or Get Obsidian for macOS if you're on a Mac, download that and go ahead and install it. So once that's installed and you've gone ahead and opened it up, you should hopefully have been greeted with something like this. If so, that's wonderful, because what we're going to do now is we're going to click the Create New Vault icon, and we're going to go ahead and name it something that is relevant for us. And now we're going to go ahead and pick a location which is convenient. Once we've done that, click the Create button. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and maximize it just so we can go ahead and see everything. And as you can see here, it's saying there's no file open. We can create a new file using Ctrl-N, or in the top left, we can use the file icon to create new notes. We're going to go ahead and do that now. So once we open a new note, it's going to prompt us and ask us if we want to go ahead and name it by highlighting. So we're going to call this one Ryan. The text is going to be a bit small, so I'm going to use Ctrl and scroll wheel just to make it a bit bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and just start writing a note here. I'm going to say, "Hi, my name is Ryan. I like Jeff. They are a cool person." And that's pretty sweet. And that's just a standard note there, and we're going to make another one. We're going to make this one, you probably guessed it, Jeff. And with this one, I'm going to go ahead and say, "My name is Jeff. I don't like Ryan. They smell." And obviously, Jeff doesn't seem to share the same sentiment as Ryan does, which is a bit awkward, but that's where we are. Now, with these notes here, they're just standard notes as we'd probably expect them. They don't do anything fancy right now. However, what we can do is go ahead and go to the name Ryan and put two open brackets in front of it. This is going to let us start doing what's called syntax. This will allow us to go ahead and tell this we want it to do something. And we want to go ahead and put two closed brackets at the end. We're going to do it very importantly at the end of Ryan, but before the full stop. And we'll come back to why that is in just a moment. But as you can see, it's highlighted and underlined, but the rest of the text has been left alone. Perfect, that's exactly how we want it. That has now linked that to the Ryan note. So if we was to click it, we'd come back over here to the note Ryan, which is perfect because that's what we're wanting. Now if we go back to the note Jeff and we go and change the full stop to be within these closed brackets, you'll see that the name Ryan is actually dulled out, which means it's not linked to anything. Now this is why I was saying before it's important to make sure that this is the point, because if I click this, you'll see that I actually make a new note which is Ryan with a full stop at the end. So if you are finding you're having trouble linking any notes, that possibly might be the reason why it's not linking. So if we also go back to the Ryan note, we can go ahead and change the name Jeff so it has the open and closed brackets, which again before that comma, and it allows us to go back and forth between these notes with no problem. So as you can see, this is all pretty powerful stuff. Just make sure that you correct any mistakes like I did when I was doing the demo, and you'll have no problem at all. We can take this further, however. So let's go ahead and add some more to this note. Let's go ahead and say Jeff mentioned Oscar. So however, Oscar is a nice person. I wish I saw them more. And with that, it gives us another reason to add another person into this. So let's go to Oscar and add those open and closed brackets. And we're going to go ahead and use that to just go ahead and create a new note for us straight away. And with this, we're going to go ahead and put a bit of information in Oscar. We're going to go ahead and say, "My name is Oscar. I like both Ryan and Jeff." And that's just going to be a simple note there. And this is where we get to the links. More specifically, any backlinks. So if we go to the side here on a tab, we can expand this. We can see along here we have linked mentions and unlinked mentions. In the linked mentions, we have Jeff, where it's mentioning Oscar, telling us things that are being said about Oscar which are linked to this note. So if we click on it, we can go back and actually see this in more detail, where it is exactly, what it's referencing. And on the right hand side you can even see it's now brought up Ryan, because Ryan is mentioning Jeff. So we can also click on there and it's going to go ahead and take us to Ryan. Or we can go further down and see unlinked mentions. We can see in Oscar that we actually have a mention to Jeff which we didn't link, we must have forgotten. But we have an option to actually click a little link icon here which goes ahead and links it for us, so we don't even need to go back in there and add the brackets manually. And as you can see, it puts it into link mentions and that has done it for us, no problem. And as you can see, there it is. Now if we go ahead and go to Ryan, you'll see something very similar. You can see Jeff is mentioning Ryan, and you can see Oscar has an unlinked mention to Ryan. So if we go ahead and click the link icon again, it's going to go ahead and link that, and it makes our job much easier. Talking about making our job much easier, besides backlinks, we also have outgoing links, which actually do very similar thing, just the opposite way around. So instead of links that are mentioning the note, it's actually links that are going out to other notes. So as you can see, we have Ryan and Oscar. Obviously these are mentioned within this note, and we haven't got anything unmentioned. However, Jeff really doesn't like how Ryan smells. So let's go ahead and say Ryan should smell less. And on the right hand side you can see in unlinked mentions that has now popped up that it's saying that we've mentioned Ryan but we haven't linked it. Another reason why it gives us the ability to click this link button here and it automatically does it without needing to go ahead and put those manual brackets in. Another way that Obsidian makes things so much easier and a much greater tool to make notes. So over time with Obsidian, your notes only increase in value, so to say, because the longer time goes, the more you can add to them, link to each other, and they all reference each other, meaning you can find all this different information, and with that means they're all connected. If we go over to the left here, you can see there's an open graph view, and if we open that and zoom in, you can see all of our notes are basically perfect, as all of them are referencing each other. Oscar's referencing Jeff and Ryan, Jeff's referencing Ryan and Oscar, and Ryan is referencing Oscar and Jeff, and that is absolutely perfect. But this is just a perfect example. If we go ahead and start making some new notes here, let's say for example Tom, let's say Tom is a friend of Oscar. And we'll go ahead and start adding that in there. Just go and do the brackets. Let's go ahead and then make another one. Let's say Tim. Oh, I don't know. Let's say Tim. Tim is an enemy of... let's go ahead and make it Ryan. Yeah. And then just one more, just to go ahead and get a little bit of a different example here. Let's say Fred. Let's say Fred here. Ooh, let's go and get a spelling. Likes Ryan, because just get a bit of variation there. And that's, but I don't know. Let's say he hates Tim, just so we can get all those linked together. And if we come into here, you can see all of a sudden this is all quite different. Now we've got all different other links. Not all of them are always connecting to each other. And if we move these around a little bit, you can see that Tom is referencing Oscar, but Oscar is then going to Ryan and Jeff, but then Ryan is connected to Fred and Tim and Fred are also now connected to each other, but they're not all connected to Tom. So as you can see, you can start seeing these links between different notes, and it's a very key point, especially if you get to the points of where you have notes that aren't connected to anything. So let's say for example, let's say John. Let's say John is a loner and he knows no one. With that, and once we have that sorted, go back to the graph view, you can see John is all alone on the graph, just like his note says. He knows no one, he's connected to no one. So it gives you a nice visual representation of maybe you need to go back to that note and maybe add some connections in there to make sure they're connected, and again, adding to the value of your notes, especially over time. Just as a quick note, Most of the keybinds that you'll know already from writing text documents you can already use in Obsidian, such as bold using Ctrl and B, using italics, Ctrl I, and using hyperlinks of Ctrl K. Just note, unfortunately, underlining using Ctrl U doesn't work with base Obsidian. Furthermore, you can always use Ctrl B and type what you're wanting, as well as italic, hyperlink, even the brackets that I showed off earlier. Some other useful keybinds, such as Ctrl F, allows you to find any word within a document. You can also use Ctrl Shift F and able to use that to find mentions anywhere. You can find notes or even mentions within notes. And then lastly, I don't want to touch on the settings of Obsidian in this video too much. However, one thing that might get you on your way a little bit easier will be disabling readable line lengths. If you're like me and don't want the text solely in the pure middle, you can turn this off and you can utilize your entire screen, and the text just goes along and along until it hits it and then goes down, just as we would expect. And that's how you use Obsidian in its bare-bone basic level. Hopefully that gives you guys exactly what you need to at least start using Obsidian, start seeing what it's capable of, and start making some amazing notes. Now, for me and this channel, this is where we start hitting a fork road, as this series is designed specifically for D&D players. Whereas I wanted to make sure I at least had one video to get people who haven't used Obsidian yet to the bare-bone basic level. From here, we're going to go ahead and start doing two different kind of series. One will be covering any kind of modules, which are essentially community plugins, which allow us to do extra things within Obsidian and make it fit our needs much more and a lot better. The other one is actually going to be how I make my notes, giving you tips and tricks on how to put these things together and going into the hows and whys. If that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to slap a follow and go ahead and keep an eye on this channel, and go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see. Besides that though, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later. Have a good one.